What up? I haven't been posting much recently because my computer kept crashing while I was doing editing and stuff. So I have bought a couple of parts. I will say this is in the future. I've already done all of the things, and all of the parts that I bought and replaced were not the parts that I needed to replace to fix it. But I figured I'd take you along for a little ride, see what it looks like, show you kind of what I was doing, what I do when I do the thing that I do, and I don't know, just maybe kind of like tutorial-y, whatever. Check it out, see what you think. Tell me what you think about it in the thing. You know what I mean? So, got this here. Should be, yeah, solid AMD Ryzen 5800X. I went for the Ryzen 7. It's the same thing I had last time. It worked out fine for me before. I hope that, I mean, it's 2 generations newer than the one that I had before, so it should work fine. I also bought a 1TB NVMe SSD. This is for the future. I literally just bought it because it was like $50 off. So that, you know what though? It's always good to check your packages when they come in the mail, just to make sure that they aren't damaged and that they're the right thing in there. Obviously, if this is not the right thing, I wouldn't say that it's Newegg's fault, but the sooner you do it, the better for the future. So yeah, SN750 SE, solid. Yeah, so just in case, you know what I mean? Like if you know, if it was somehow the wrong packaging or anything like that, you don't want to be beyond your, oh, you can just look at it in the window in the back. You don't want to be beyond your return or anything like that. I would like to plug this in just to check it out, to make sure for sure that it works, but I'm really not that worried about it. I think it's going to be just fine. However, this, I want to make sure I am going to be plugging in soon, so I want to make sure that everything is right. The thing about processors that you want to make sure of, first of all, giant box. This is the whole thing. This is everything you need. The rest of this is just plastic packaging, which would make sense. If you're going to be selling it in a store, you don't want to be somebody to just walk out with this for $500, and this is a cheap one. So, you know. But anyway, the important part to the processor are these pins that are in here. You want to make sure that everything is straight and not bent, and it looks gorgeous. I'm nervous. These pins are fairly easy to bend. You see that? I'm not looking at the camera. Hopefully that looks fine. Fairly easy to bend, but if you're careful, they'll be fine. AMD Ryzen 5800X. So stoked. Go ahead and put this to the side for right now, because with this, as I said, my last processor was 2 generations ago, which is to say that the it's not going to fit in the old motherboard. So I also got a new motherboard. I've always had really good luck with Newegg. The packaging is great. I also got some new memory. We'll talk about that in a minute. The packaging has been great. I have had some issues with open box stuff in the past, so I just buy new all the time now. There's also been some controversy about that, but that's a whole thing. They fixed that recently. Anyway, this is what I'm excited about. Wi-Fi. I have built now 2 computers. Both of them have not had Wi-Fi in the motherboard. I've had to have a separate internet card, which is fine. But I'm very excited about this. I've not had, well, I just said I've not had one. This is also a micro ITX. So it's a smaller motherboard. I'll show you that in a minute. Yeah, 5,000 ready. I'll show you that in a minute, because I'm going to be taking my old motherboard out here in a second. Let's see, what have we? Yeah, this is cool. The antenna. Might look a little bit intrusive, but we'll see. I like the idea. of the antenna. This is the important part here. Yeah. Ah, real quick, what else do we have? Excuse me, Mr. Boss. Ooh, that's cool. The I/O shield on the back isn't all. Most that I'm used to have looked like this on both sides, so that's kind of cool. It looks a little bit nicer. Some SATA cables. That's cool. Those are handy. Obviously your some drivers. Which, okay, let's be honest. Who still has a CD drive in their desktop computer? Some stickers. Some other stuff. This is the important part. The last time I told you I got an open box motherboard in my last computer, and not only did it not come with, these are screws to mount the SSD, like I said, that I had on my last one. Literally my last one's just hanging on by like some cross-threaded screws. I'll show you that in a minute too. What on earth? Oh, for a single-sided M.2. Yeah, so this is nice. It comes with all the accessories, everything you need. Open box is cool because you can get it cheap or whatever, but I just don't trust it anymore. I've had only the one issue, but I literally had to buy. I bought a motherboard and it came with nothing. It didn't come with an I/O shield. It didn't come with SATA cables. It didn't come with screws or anything like that. It was just the motherboard. It didn't even come with documentation. So I had to look up documentation online, and it was just a whole thing. Which I get it. It's an open box. You get what you get. But I do enjoy that Newegg has extended their whatever the return policy on open box items, because that's shitty. I don't like that. Okay, so you do want to be careful with this kind of stuff. Obviously, it's electronics. You don't want to shock it or anything like that, but you also don't want to get your oily, greasy bits all over the stuff. So the idea is you want to hold it essentially so that you're not touching any of the electronic-y bits on the front of the back. Now, this is a smaller motherboard than the one that I have in, and the idea is I do want to, man, this thing is gorgeous. I do want to update my case in the future. I have a larger case. I want a smaller case in the future. So I bought this. I do want to have the ability to put a capture card. So I wanted some cases, or some motherboards are even smaller, like here. So they only have the one slot for the GPU, and then also they're smaller this way. So there's not as much VRM cooling, and there's also only 2 slots for your RAM, which I like the idea of. I only bought 2 sticks. I'll show you that now. I only bought 2 sticks, but I like the idea of being able to upgrade it in the future, which, to be fair, I bought 32 gigs of RAM because I knew that I was going to be doing like editing and stuff like that. You really don't need much more than that for anything that I'm doing, at least. So I want the ability to upgrade in the future, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal anyway, currently. So what I want to do before anything is install this new motherboard. The CPU. So you flip up this little doohickey here, carefully grab your CPU. Now there is, I believe, yeah, top right, you probably can't see that. Sorry, top left, there's a little triangle, and on this motherboard, oh boy, it's tiny. On the CPU, there's a tiny little triangle there. So you want to line up those 2 triangles, and yeah, it should just set right in there. I have done enough of these to know that at least every time that I've seen it, the little flippy thingy is to the right of the. If the text was right side up, it would be on your right hand side. I also feel like the top points that way, but anyway, it's different for every motherboard, so you want to make sure that you get that right. Then you pull this down, flips into its little flippy, and you're solid. So next, I want to put in the RAM and obviously make sure that everything is solid with it, however it looks to be. You always just want to make sure. The first time I built my computer, I wasn't able to put it together for a while. I think I ended up putting it together like a month later, and I had gotten a bad motherboard. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes your motherboard just gets, or sometimes components are just not, just don't work. However, I was too late to return it, so you want to make sure that everything, at the very least, you want to make sure it looks good, because there can be some obvious flaws if you don't take it out of the box because you don't want it to get damaged. Maybe it's already damaged in the shipping. So you always want to take a gander at that kind of thing. Now, this is the fun part. So, these stickers you can leave on. This, by the way, for anybody that knows computer stuff, it's CL16 3200 speed RAM. Each stick is 16 gigs for a total of 32. You've got this little notch that you want to line up with the opposite notch, what you call a nubbin or whatever. And you also want to put your RAM, see, there's 4 slots, there's 2 black ones and 2 gray ones. It is, oh man, I think you want to put them, I don't remember. I think you want to put them, I know in my computer there, I've got them further away from the CPU. But now that I think about it, I don't actually remember. Let me see if the motherboard says anything about that. Where's my box? Oh, I'm on my box. You also want to make sure, so this motherboard comes in a anti-static bag. That's what this is, anti-static for electricity, because you can shock your motherboard just with your hands. Like I said, the oils on your hands, or like if you have a carpet flooring like I do, you know how your body creates static electricity. So you want to keep this either on cardboard, works fine, anti-static is good, or some people have like mats that you can like build stuff on. Good idea to do that. When you put it in the computer, it is literally touching nothing on the back, and that's the idea. You want it to not be touching anything. There's these little standoffs that I'll also show you in a minute. And the reason for that is so that you don't get any shocking or anything like that. Motherboards are actually very fragile in that way. Okay, so it does say to put them in the gray if you're doing dual channel 2 sticks, which makes sense. They are labeled A. What are they labeled? Why can't I read that now? A1, A2, B1, B2. So you want to put them in. Oh, not the gray ones, the black ones. What are you? No, it is saying to put them in A2 and B2. Okay, so I was right. You want them further away from the CPU. I wonder why that is. You'd think that they'd be closer. Okay, so the last time I did it right. Good enough. Let us then do that. So like I said, your little nubbins with your nubbins. You want to flip open. Some motherboards will have, you see how I flipped those up. Some motherboards will have them on both sides. This one only has it on one side. That's fine. That is in order to lock it in. It's also easy enough to line up the nubbin with the thing there. So you want to be careful, but you also want to be forceful. They are a tight fit on purpose. You want to press it in until it clicks as such. And that little floppy will come down. Second one in as such. You do want to make sure that you're not putting them in directly next to each other's slots. You want them to be alternated. You saw how they're gray and black. You want to put them, if you're only putting 2 sticks in a 4-slot board, you want to make sure that you have them separated so that they're actually working in dual channel. This way they talk to each other better. All these little lines and crazy little nodules and things. These 2 slots talk to each other, and these 2 slots do. And then if you have all 4 slots, that's fine. This is just going to make, it'll work if you put it in wrong, but this is just going to make it run better. Now, that's cool. I want to put in, actually now I want to take out the motherboard from my old system and take the M.2 out of it. So I will be right back. So this is my old motherboard. Clearly it's slightly bigger. This is the cooler that I have on it. I bought this for aesthetics. It cools fine. Right, so what I need to do is take the cooler off. It's a Cooler Master. I like it a lot. It lights up, the fan lights up, and this little ring around it lights up. It's really pretty. I like aesthetics. It comes with this. I'll show you the underworkings of it in a minute. It's really difficult to install and uninstall. You have to install it with the motherboard out. That's just it. So anyway, let me pop this. For those of you who haven't, if you've built a computer but haven't taken it apart yet, it is important to note that the thermal paste that you put on your CPU from between your CPU and your cooler will, I dropped that, that's fine, it will sort of fuse them together. It works a lot like glue. So what you want to do is once you've gotten this thing loose, you want to kind of twist it a little bit, just like wiggle it. Give it a couple of wiggles while you're pulling on it. It also helps, there we go, it also helps to get your CPU hot before you take this apart, because it'll kind of melt the little sticky bits of it. But just giving it a little wiggle will do just fine. So yeah, so this thing has these on top of these little nubbins down here in order to screw and unscrew it, which is to say that your motherboard normally comes with, you'll see on this one, these two little, whatever plastic things. Those have to come out. So I'll have to take those off of this, and then you install this separately. So that's... But real quick, actually, what I wanted to show you. This, I told you, I didn't get the motherboard screws for this here. Okay, there we go. So what I did is, you'll see, let me pull this out safely, set it aside. You'll see here, I don't know if you noticed already, there are various different sizes of M.2 drive that you can have. They have here a standoff for a small one, larger one, this, and this one here. This is clearly not the right standoff. It's a very different color. This is a case standoff, as in for underneath the motherboard, this is where your screws go in, and it stands off the motherboard from the case so that it doesn't have any static electricity go through it or anything like that. What happened was, I don't really know. So I think what I tried to do is I had like a bag of screws from something else and from the case and all that. So I used this screw to try to screw into this standoff, and it was close, but it wasn't quite right. And then in trying to unscrew it, I actually broke the glue on the standoff that was in there, so the whole standoff came out. And I got lucky that I had an extra motherboard standoff from the case that I was able to fit in there. It doesn't fit, like there's not actually a thread pattern in there, so I kind of like just threaded it in and then used this screw to screw it in between. It was really bad. So that's the issue that you get sometimes with open box items. So on the back of the motherboard, this it has this like weird. Oh, I know how this works. I think these like pull. I don't remember how this works. Does it screw in? Can I unscrew these? Oh, okay, it screws in. That's easy. So it's actually not that difficult to install. Oh, you know what? I was talking about the CPU box being so large for not having anything else in it. It also, most of them come with coolers also. So that's what that extra space was for. This one just didn't for some reason. So my bad, AMD. You're fine. Your packaging is fine. Not that they're listening. So yeah, so this, that's the wrong screwdriver. I'll put in the M.2 in a minute. I want to get this all situated. Anyway, so this is easy enough. These little silver bits go into the motherboard holes, and then you place this back down as such. You want to make sure none of that metal connects with anything on the back. If anything, it has very little power in it with this battery here, so I don't think that it's likely, but essentially if either of these two metal things connected with two different things that shouldn't be connected, and some of the power from this battery went and like jumped between them, it could short the whole motherboard out, which is obviously bad. So you want to be careful. I don't think it's really likely, but you want to be careful. These were hand tight when I got to them, so I'm assuming hand tight is fine. Well, I'll give them a crank, just like a tight little, a little above hand tight. A lot of stuff like this, I learned this the hard way in construction. You really, yeah, see like this one? Yeah, that's just loose in that plastic. If I tighten these too much, essentially it's quite possible that I'll just never get it apart. Because if you saw the metal, these are metal inside of plastic, and so like this one is kind of loose in there. That plastic is loose. The metal is loose inside the plastic. So it's possible that you tighten the metal into the metal tightly, and then when you try to take it out, it breaks that seal with the plastic, and you just can't unscrew these anymore. Actually, that might have... No, I am unscrewing it. Okay, so you want to be careful with that kind of stuff. You really don't want to crank it too hard. That makes me a little bit nervous, but it should be fine. The other ones are on. And also, this is kind of loose anyway. What tightens it down is the clearance, essentially. So there's not... between the CPU and the water block that's on the back of here, where these set down, it really does wrench itself on there, and that's what keeps it tight. Not the screws to the back plate. So that's not a big deal. You do want to clean this off. I'm going to clean this off in a second. You probably won't see that. You want to clean off the old thermal paste. I'm going to do it on the old CPU as well, because it is now old, and you don't want it... essentially, it's just not going to work as well. You want to install new thermal paste every time. So quickly though, I'm going to put this new M.2 SSD. This has, I believe, yeah, it has 2 slots. There's one underneath here as well. However, the top one is the important one, essentially. The top one, yeah, PCIe. No, that's something else. I'm trying to see if it says, yeah, M.2 _1 socket 3. I don't know what all that means, but essentially this is the one that talks directly to the CPU. So if you want your computer to be fast, which is why you have an SSD in the first place, you do want your computer to be fast, you want to put it in the first slot. The second slot will be solely for storage. So in the future, I'm going to put the new one that I got it's actually faster and more storage space. I'm going to put that one here. Also, fun fact, this AMD 5000, the 5000 series, or the 3rd generation, has the, as well as the new motherboard. I actually needed the new motherboard for this processor because the old generations, long story short, things change. This one has the PCIe 4 slots, so this slot for the graphics card, as well as this M.2, and only this M.2 slot has PCIe 4, as opposed to the old were PCIe 3, and also I believe this slot is PCIe 3 as well. Basically, long story short, it's just faster. So that hard drive is PCIe 4, which means that it's not a hard drive, it's sort of a solid state drive, but it's going to be faster. So this is the slot that you want. That was a lot of words to say, not a lot of words. Okay, so we know that this is the long one. Go ahead and screw this in here as such. It's round. It's not round. It does have. It's very tight. Okay, whatever. I think that's tight. Hard to get a grip on. I will say that, but it works. So now this. Pushes into there as such. Nice click. Nice solid click in there. Tiniest screwdriver. I'm gonna have to go get another screwdriver. Hang on. These are not magnetized, however. These are really cheap screwdrivers. I magnetized this one myself with like a little magnetizer thing, so that's handy. Did not do that to this. However, that's in there nice and solid, so it should be fine. Next, I think, yeah, I want to clean this off. All right, got that cleaned off. Now we put on, you want, and I've seen so many different people say so many different things. You want a little rice-shaped, a little like grain of rice right in the middle. Like that should be enough. It's easy to do too much and it's easy to do not enough. So that should be fine. You will be able to see this cap also gets very stuck on there. This stuff's wild. Look at it. It like came out really nice and smooth and easy. It's nice and shiny and malleable, but man, it gets goopy quickly. So now the cooler goes on, and I believe, yeah, I had this like this last time. All these cords are so long. But anyway, so you can't really see what I'm seeing, but it fits on there nice. You can feel it. It's nowhere near tight onto the little nubbins that I installed earlier, but it's like really on there. So I'm gonna give it a little wiggle around. You want to make sure all that thermal paste gets kind of spread out a little bit. You don't want to spread out too much. If you're looking at what I'm looking at, that water block doesn't even really fully cover the corners of the CPU anyway. And also, once you tighten it down, it really squeezes it all out, so it'll be fine. These, I guess, I will tuck underneath here and run. I'll figure out that's actually pretty good. I'll figure that out later anyway. Let me get these are dual-sided there. You really can't reach in underneath there. I will say, once you're doing this, talking about it is easy enough, or maybe makes it sound more difficult. But once you're really up in there, like tightening it down, it's really pretty easy to tell when it's like tight, when it's too much, and so on. Okay, so let's see. Where do these? Which one is which? This is RGB. Now, what I like about Asus is they like their RGB. So there's RGB. There's CPU fan. Okay, so I want this. I gotta be careful with these, because you really don't want these to get like caught up in any fans. I have a fan like right here, so I will say this is actually, because this motherboard is a little bit smaller than the other one. These are actually disappearing a lot better than in my other case that I had. Oh, there we go. Okay. Make sure that's all the way in. As such, now this tucks quite nicely, I will say, into there. Would you look at that? Yeah, my last one, it was like wired up here and then over and around. There's a whole lot. Now you can't even see those. Nice. I don't know if that's an upgraded thing or if it's a smaller motherboard thing. Anyway, fantastic. So now, don't need this, don't need this. A lot of this stuff I actually don't need. Kind of made a mess up here, honestly. Let's see. What I want to do is install this in the computer, but I don't know how well the computer is going to fit up here. Let's make some room and see. Alright, looking at it, it's not gonna work. I'll just show it to you when it's done, I guess. So, yeah. I tried to put the computer on the counter to like put the motherboard in and like plug all the stuff in and whatever. But it was like too dark. I didn't have like good lighting, and it was also too, honestly, the phone was like hanging from the cabinets from up above, like it just wasn't great. So I will say it went in fine. I plugged all the things in. It fits great. It's really easy, whatever. However, when I plugged all the stuff into the back of the computer and I tried to turn it back on, it turned on fine, and it posted. I went into the BIOS. I was going to show you that too, but I was kind of getting frustrated because it crashed again. No, it didn't crash immediately. It I reset. I set up all the settings, and then I had to save. You restart the computer, and when it turned back on, it booted, but not even for long enough to get into the. What I did a little bit of overclocking. I made the things like maybe take a little bit more power, which is important because you saw I replaced the CPU, the RAM, and the motherboard. Replacing the CPU means that it's drawing more power, and replacing the RAM means it's not drawing much more power, but it is drawing a little bit more power. So it literally wouldn't even turn on, which is the same problem that I was having before, where I was rendering a video and it would crash. And then I was playing a video game and it would crash. And then to the point where I was just watching YouTube and it would crash. So I started doing some Googling, making sure that, because I'm using older parts and newer parts, making sure that everything fits together. And I found a thread on Reddit talking about some of the issues that I was having with the booting process, why it wasn't working. And they were saying that it might be a bad power supply. And the person responded and said, yes, that's what it was. I used a different power supply and it worked. So I have another old computer that I pulled the power supply out of and put into this one. and it booted just fine. So I really have a feeling that all those old parts that I took out were fine. And to be fair, upgrading has massively. I've already edited a couple of things since then, like just last night late, and it went perfectly. Like it's so smooth. It's so much better than it was before. The upgrades were perfect for editing, especially the CPU. But yeah, I didn't need to, and I was very frustrated last night. So that's why I'm filming this not last night and today. But you know, I don't know. I thought it was fun. I tried to make as much of a video out of it as I could. Let me know what you think. If you want to see more stuff like this, I love building and touching, like messing around with parts in the computer. So and just doing stuff with my hands. I like making stuff. So let me know if you like it, and I'll do more of it or not or whatever. I don't know. I'll do what I want. So.